Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a deeply mystical, completely mind-bending metafictional novel called The Sophia Descending. Have you ever felt like grief is just this terrible flaw in the human condition? Something broken that absolutely has to be fixed? Well, this text presents a breathtaking, total paradigm shift of a premise. That unconsoled grief isn't a flaw at all. It's actually the literal mechanism through which the divine enters our world. Let's kick things off with a pretty bold premise set by the book's epigraphs. The philosopher Simone Weil anchors this entire experience with one incredibly powerful thought. Love is not consolation, it is light. The source material insists that true encounters with love and grief aren't meant to comfort us. They're not there to return us to some safe, happy equilibrium. Instead, they're meant to illuminate reality, essentially stripping away all our defenses so we can see the world exactly as is. And at the very heart of this illumination is a figure known as Sophia. In this narrative, Sophia represents the eternal feminine, basically a divine principle that consents to wear a real human face. But here's the crucial twist. She doesn't come to complete you. She comes to break you open perfectly, operating on the exact frequency of your most devastating, specific loss. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the eternal feminine, 3 centuries, 3 cracks, the fourth descent, the physics of grief, and finally, Sophia rising. Let's get into it. Section 1. The Eternal Feminine, a manuscript across time. To really wrap our heads around this philosophy, we have to follow the historical timeline of the Book of Descents itself. It's this ever-accumulating manuscript. We see first contact happening in Florence in 1289, then a descent into the mines of Saxony in 1797, an outward journey to the Egyptian desert in 1875, and finally a digital synthesis on a Berlin server in 2024. As this codex travels through time, it's picking up layers of annotations from different men who were all ruined by love in exactly the right way. Section 2. 3 centuries, 3 cracks. The historical descents. This sets up a fascinating cosmic pattern, showing how Sophia appeared to 3 different men in 3 distinct centuries. Think about Giacomo di Lapo back in 1306. He fell for a woman in a red dress in Florence, and his specific grief moved up, transmuting his pain into the soaring vertical beauty of a cathedral of language. Then, in 1797, Friedrich von Hardenberg's tragic grief over his young beloved went down into a coal mine, turning into geological depth. And by 1875, Vladimir Solovyov's grief went outward to the Egyptian desert dawn, creating this immense plain of universal breath. Every single man's specific grief moved in a totally different geometric direction, transforming their pain into a unique structure for the divine. Now, we're hitting the absolute crux of the source material's philosophy here, the fundamental difference between a wound and a crack. We naturally view our grief as a wound, right? Something made by damage, something we have to heal, treat, and ultimately get closure for. But the manuscript argues this is a profound mistake. Our specific grief is actually a crack. It's made by contact with the divine, and it functions as an aperture, literally a door, that must intentionally be held open. The second you try to heal it and close it up, you shut the door on the divine. Margarita, the very first human vessel from the 13th century, actually wrote this in the margins of the Codex. The messenger is not the message. Love the crack. The cracking open of these men wasn't some tragic accident. It was the entire plan from the start. The human beloved was just the vessel. The specific grief itself is the method for divine passage. You aren't supposed to get past the grief. You're supposed to hold it open so the light can get in. Section 3, the fourth descent, the modern disruption. Fast forward to 2024, and the manuscript lands in the hands of a modern research analyst in Berlin named Marcus Vail. But the rules change here. Unlike the 3 men before him who dealt with the physical deaths of their beloveds, Marcus experiences what the text calls informational grief. The woman he loves, Ifoma, leaves for Logos. She doesn't die. It's just a loss of proximity, an absence without a clear location. This is so fascinating because it drags this ancient manuscript kicking and screaming right into the interconnected reality of the 21st century. It's a modern grief of distributed networks and digital ghosts. Section 4, the physics of grief, accumulating the transmutations. Here is why that modern disruption is so critical. This fourth grief isn't just another random layer. It actually synthesizes all the previous layers into one massive braided culmination. Remember, the first descent built vertical beauty. The second went deep into mineral depth. The third mapped an outward plane of breadth. So by the time Marcus is annotating his section today, he is grieving with the aesthetic specificity, the profound physical depth, and the cosmic scope of all the men who came before him combined. And all of this total geometry reveals the true nature of the universe, introducing a concept called the pleroma, which translates to divine fullness. We so often feel exiled, like we're trapped in this broken world. But the philosophy here argues that the transfiguration of the world actually runs backward through time from a future point of ultimate unification. What that means is our fierce, specific suffering doesn't earn us an escape ticket out of a broken world. It actually corrects our perception, so we can see that we never left the divine fullness to begin with. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Sophia Rising, the final payload. This is the breathtaking climax that completely redefines humanity's relationship with the divine. The cracks are doors, and because these men have held their doors open, Sophia is no longer falling from the heavens. She is rising from below. Through the fiercely held grief of opened human hearts, through the sleeping stone and the mineral memory, the divine is rising up through the very center of the material world. Our ordinary, cracked hearts are the actual architecture allowing her to surface. And because this transfiguration is happening right now in the real world and not just on the page, the manuscript ends by turning and directly addressing you with a massive challenge. Now finish it. It leaves us with a really profound question to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. You have your own specific face, your own specific name, your own specific loss. How are you going to carry your own crack? And when the time comes, will you have the courage to leave it open?